Hello everyone, back tuning in to the first seasonal model roundup for winter of 2016-2017 from GasWeathers.com. So over the past 3 weeks, we've been looking at the winter updates. We've been doing the winter updates, looking at things such as solar activity, sea surface temperature anomalies in the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean, how quickly snow cover is advancing across Siberia. All of those things, we've been looking at them over the past week, some free updates of those. But what we haven't done yet is get all the long-range seasonal models together and see what they're showing for winter. And that's what we're going to do today for the first winter 2016-2017 seasonal model roundup. So we've got 10 models to go. We've short of a few. We haven't got the JMA or the Russian models because they don't reach the required time frame yet. We also haven't got APEC because we've run out of time for that one. I'm doing the video, recording it on Saturday night. Hasn't updated yet, so where's the last one to update? So we've been waiting for it, but unfortunately we've run out of time, and we're going to be short of those 3. However, we've got 10 to be going on with, including a new one. We're going to be starting off with a new model from South Africa to kick things off for this update. So I'll get on that in a second. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads. Now, GasWeathers.com is completely free of charge. Our updates, videos are delivered to you totally free at the point where you need them and want them. So I just ask you to engage with the ads. There's links to articles on all of the pages. Have a browse through widgets, click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you'll be helping us to pay for GasWeathers.com. There's also video ads on most pages. They open up content when you watch, they close back up again. And that is also helping to pay GasWeathers. So just generally have a play around with the ads, have a click of the ads at GasWeathers. And if you do that, you're helping to keep us free. Don't have to worry about pay-per-view, subscriptions, anything like that. And of course, in a few weeks, the Amazon shop will be starting up again for Christmas. I'll be talking about that in a few weeks' time. But if you've got any Christmas shopping, you'll be able to do it through the GasWeathers Amazon shop. So hold off on your Christmas shopping for the time being, and I'll explain more about it in a few weeks' time. What else was I going to say? There's going to be 10 models, as I say, and you can find the links to most of those models on the links page. So you can go off and view nearly all of these models for yourself. Not every single one is on the links page, but most of them are. Going to be quite a long video, so you can't watch it all in one go. Don't worry, you're probably watching this on the home page right now on Sunday morning, but later on this will be placed on the winter updates page, and there'll be a written report that goes with it. It's going to be kept on the winter updates page for the winter 2016-2017 indefinitely, so be there forever. If you want to watch it whenever you want to watch it, you'll be able to come back and view it or read the written post that goes with it. And just say we're not completely giving up on the winter updates today, because on the blog this afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, there's going to be an extensive report looking at a few things. So we're going to look at the GasWeathers solar tracker, sunspot tracker that James has been keeping updated for us. That'll be part of the blog post later this afternoon. Also have a look at what's happening across Siberia in terms of snow cover, because it's almost time now to start seeing how quickly the snow cover is advancing across the Siberian plain. So that'll be on the blog later on this afternoon as well. Come back for that. Right, I better get on with seasonal model update. I've been talking for long enough. So we're going to start off with a brand new model. This is from South Africa. They're the South African Meteorological Agency, their long-range seasonal model. This is the temperature forecast from the South African model. This doesn't cover the full winter period yet. The first couple of models that you see don't cover the full winter period, but just November to January. So temperature probability from the South African model for November to January is coming out above average. It's going for a milder than average winter. Notice most of Scandinavia, Eastern Europe and Western Russia is average to colder than average, but out perched on the edge of Europe next to the Atlantic Ocean, we are coming out milder than average this winter. The precipitation anomaly is coming out generally a bit drier than average. Let's just check the scale. There we go. Yes, it's below normal. So I just have to reassure myself that I'm interpreting these models right when I use it for the first time. So it's going for a milder and drier than average November to January. Remember, this isn't a full winter forecast period yet, but for November to January, it's seeing milder and drier than average conditions. Brazil next. Let's go to South America, and this is 500 millibar height anomaly. Again, it's not for the full winter period. This is from November through to January. This always does things a little bit the wrong way round in terms of the colour. So blue on these charts, greens and blues extrapolating to high pressure above average heights, yellows, oranges, reds extrapolate to below average heights, which is low pressure. Normally on any other 500 millibar height anomaly, that will be the other way around, but I think they like to try and catch us out a little bit. So what the model is showing in terms of 500 millibar heights is that there's some sort of weak ridge in the Atlantic, and then we've got this area, quite a bizarre looking chart. We've got this area of normal heights, which I assume is actually a trough, and as we get closer to the period, I would think this signal, should it be verified, this white area will be shaded orange, yellow and orange, because I think it's a trough here sitting across many northern parts of Europe, so over Scandinavia and edging back in towards the United Kingdom. It looks like we've got a trough within the 500 millibar flow. So what that could do, actually, if there's low pressure up here and a ridge out here, that could turn the winds into the north for November to January. That could be quite a coolish scenario. Temperature anomalies. Now, these charts are nearly always warmer than average, as you get very often with these seasonal models, because they're also climate models. I think they do overcook the temperatures a little bit. But the temperature anomaly for November to January coming out average. You could probably lower that a little bit towards the cooler side, I would have thought, with that 500 millibar height setup. Precipitation looks a bit wetter than average. So this is in complete contrast what you're looking at from the South African model, going for a wetter than average November to January. Which would make sense, of course, if there's a trough here and a ridge somewhere out here. You've got northerly winds coming down like that, and probably a southerly tracking jet stream as well going through there. So it wouldn't be a desperately wet winter, but you probably in the south anyway will get above average precipitation. Let's have a look at CANSIPs next. So I've already done CANSIPs Saturday, did that earlier in the month, so I won't dwell on this too long. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly from CANSIPs at the website tropicaltidbits.com. You can find a link to Tropical Tidbits on the links page. This is mean sea level pressure anomaly for December to February 2017. So this is covering the full winter period, unlike those first two, which were just for the early winter period, November to January. This model and all the models you see from here on in are going to cover the full winter period. So in terms of mean sea level pressure anomaly for the winter, it's showing that we've got a trough of low pressure very close to the UK, actually, with perhaps hints of a little bit of ridging up towards the north, going up towards Greenland. Let's have a look and see what that does for the temperature. So temperature anomalies are generally close to average, maybe a little bit on the milder than average side, but near normal really with the temperatures. However, most of Europe is signalled to have a warmer than average winter. And the precipitation anomaly, that's coming out about average as well. So not a great deviation in terms of temperature or precipitation for this winter so far from the CANSIPs model. It might be that the seems just too weak really for the model to anticipate. NASA next. This is the experimental model from NASA. So we're going to start off 500 with our height anomalies again, and this is for the winter period. Again, quite an odd looking chart. We've got this big white area just here, which I would have thought is probably some sort of trough of low pressure in the Atlantic. It's quite odd what's going on with these long range models, because you'll notice that throughout this chart, the colours are only really from orange, from yellow through to orange through to red. There's no blue being seen. Now, blue on these charts, well, there's a little bit of blue down there towards the South Pole, just there. But on these charts, blue is below average heights, and orange, yellow, red above average heights. So if a model is right, there's not going to be any low pressure anywhere across the Northern Hemisphere this winter, and that can't possibly be right. So I think what's going on is where we've got these white areas, which is climatology or near normal heights. There's got to be troughs through here and probably just here as well. And then where we've got the yellow colours, those are the near normal heights, and then the reds and the oranges are above average heights, which is high pressure. That would make more sense. Anyway, what I think the model is doing for this winter is that it's got low pressure, below average heights in the Atlantic, near normal heights of the UK, and then there's a ridge of above average heights through central parts of Europe. So we've got high pressure, have to come over to this side of the chart, see that, you've got high pressure there, and then low pressure there. We're probably going to be dragging up sort of southerly influences, which are generally going to be quite mild, so you expect a milder than average winter. That is what the model is showing. Slightly above average temperatures, not perhaps as bad as I was expecting, but slightly above average temperatures from the NASA model. Most of Europe coming out above average as well with those temperatures. Though notice, interestingly, I'm not sure why it is, but the Baltic Sea comes out a bit colder than average amongst all of this above average, these above average temperature numbers. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I think the NASA model is generally on the milder side of things for this winter precipitation. Let's just check the scale. So average may be hinting at being ever so slightly wetter than average with the precipitation through this winter, and it makes sense because there's a deep low pressure. I think there will be a deep low pressure here in the central Atlantic, which will throw up rain bands. And then, of course, we know we've got that ridge just there, but I don't think that will be enough to hold off the Atlantic. So probably quite a wet, mild signal for winter from NASA. Excuse me, Hugo van der Doel next, our good friend Hugo. And we're going to have a look at Who's analog. So this isn't a generic model that's churning out this output. This is Hugo van der Doel himself looking at sea surface temperature anomalies across the world during any given month, and in this case, this was generated in August. He looks at those sea surface temperature anomalies, and then he goes back to past years, which had similar sea surface temperature anomalies, and creates an analog forecast going forward. So we start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly for December to February 2017, and this is what Hugh is seeing. Trough of low pressure close to the UK, a ridge is out through the central part of the Atlantic, and then over on this side of the chart have quite a lot of ridging through Scandinavia and going down in towards eastern parts of Europe. That is very close to being a colder than average winter for us. And actually, I won't show you this, but the next chart follows on, which goes through to the end of winter and early spring, which it's the anomaly for January through to March. That goes even more towards being a colder than average scenario. But as it isn't quite set up right for a colder than average winter. So what we actually come out with is a milder than average temperature anomalies with those salmon pink colours. Notice most parts of Central Eastern Europe coming out a bit colder than average. It isn't all that far from a cold winter. I'm waiting to see what Hugo van der Doel does next month, whether he shifts this more towards a colder than average winter. It's not all that far away, it's not quite right, so actually Hugo is going this month for a milder than average winter, and also going for a wetter than average winter, reason being there's a trough of low pressure centred over the country. CFS V2 next. These are the 700 millibar height anomalies for the winter, December to February 2017, for the winter. And this is what we're looking at. It's going for below average height centred right over the UK, really, and going out into the Atlantic as well. We have got quite a bit of yellow up across the polar field, so there is signs of some northern blocking up there. If you've been watching the CFS 6 months look ahead videos, you'll know that what the model is doing is it's trying to build in blocking for January. So this chart for the whole winter period, December to February, maybe not representative on a month-by-month basis, because as you go through these charts on a month-by-month basis, actually each month, December, January, February, I haven't got time to go through them right now on an individual basis, but the model is going for very distinct patterns and different patterns for each of the winter months, if you see what I mean. So this is the anomaly for the three, but maybe it's all that representative, actually, of what model is seeing month by month through December, through January, through to February. Now, this is a temperature anomaly for the winter at the moment from CFS-V2. This looks pretty horrific if you want to call it winter, because it's a sea of red from the west of Europe, Ireland and Portugal, right way over towards Russia over here. So it obviously is going for a significantly milder than average winter. I can't really explain why it's that warm based on its 700 millibar high time, because this doesn't look instinctively like a tremendously warm winter pattern. There is no ridging down here or here to drag up the air out of the tropical Atlantic. Actually, the Azores high is pushed a bit further west. It's displaced over here towards Bermuda, which is normally a fairly coldish signal for Europe. And then we do have hints of northern blocking it here as well. So why it's so mild this winter, I'm not sure. It could just be the model's mild bias at work a little bit. But I'd be surprised if that 700 millibar high dominance is how things turned out. It probably would be a milder than average winter in any part of Europe, but I'd be surprised if it finished up quite as bad as that. The precipitation anomaly is coming out pretty much average, maybe hinting at being a bit wetter to the south around France, Spain, Portugal, and that's really indicative of the jet stream going on a bit of a southerly track, actually, with maybe hints of high pressure being up here. Remember, these are 3 monthly anomalies, though. So, for example, this is how January is looking, and to me this is still looking like a cold month. We've got a lot of yellow and almost orange up here, so that is indicative of northern blocking. A trough is underneath it. Okay, it's still bringing in an Atlantic flow to many parts of Europe, but this ridging up here has got to be pushing down cold air into this trough as well. So to me, particularly for January, maybe isn't the case so much for December and February, but certainly for January, the model is still, to me, hinting at a colder than average pattern. But this is the temperature anomaly that it's seeing for January. It's virtually identical to that winter temperature anomaly we're just looking at. And generally, it's just a sea of red. Again, red and orange above average temperature anomalies across the whole of Europe. It really is quite odd what the CFS is doing. I can't explain why that 700 millibar height anomaly for January should lead to that temperature anomaly. But I can only show you the charts as they come out. Beijing Climate Centre next. So I did the Beijing Climate Centre 6-month look ahead last night. Do check that out if you haven't seen it yet. It's on the GasService catch-up page. We looked at each individual month from October through to March. I won't dwell on that too much, but this is the 500 millibar high anomaly for the winter from the Beijing Climate Centre. This is taking us from December through to February. Of course, it looks different because the model's had an upgrade, I think, and the colours have changed a bit. But British Isles is still over here in the far right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. It's harder to make this out because the colours with the charts now are more intense. But essentially what model is doing for the winter as an anomaly is placing a region very close to the UK, which hints probably at average temperatures overall through winter and fairly dry conditions as well. Notice that area of high pressure above average heights extending into many northern and central parts of Europe as well. The temperature anomaly therefore comes out average to slightly above average overall. Notice many parts of Europe actually coming out slightly cooler than average. Have a look at precipitation anomaly. That comes out significantly drier than average, which you would expect because there's a ridge of high pressure anomalously sitting over the country. But the model, and this came out in the 6-month lookout we did last night, the model is going for a cold January. So this is what the model is seeing in terms of 500 millimeter height anomaly for January, placing a big ridge here up to the north and come over here to Scandinavia, up to the northeast of UK. Trough is down over Spain and Portugal, which almost certainly turns the winds for us into the east. And then look at the temperature anomaly for January. Now, this is more like what I'd expect from a CFSD2. But this is a temperature anomaly, slightly colder than average for January. Remember, it's not for the full winter. This is just for January. Slightly colder than average, but look how cold it is across many parts of Europe. A really cold month there being signalled in January for the bulk of the continental landmass. Very interesting. And as I say, I would have thought the CFSD2 temperature anomaly would be along the lines of that, maybe not quite to that extent, because the blocking isn't quite as in quite the same position in January as we see at Beijing Climate Centre. But I would have thought the CFSD2 would be similar with its temperature forecast. So they're both going for blocking of some description in January, but they differ with the temperature forecast. And I'll go more towards the Beijing Climate Centre if that 500 milliwatt height anomaly came out as the model is predicting. Jamstech next, and this one also going for a colder than average winter. Quite interesting. I've been speaking to somebody who has connections with the UK Met Office. Apparently Jamstech is taken very seriously by the folks at the UK Met. So it's always been one of my favourites as well. I do think it has, quite interestingly, for a long-range seasonal model, I do think it has a little bit of a cold bias at its extended range. And most of them are biased towards the milder side, but this one perhaps biased a little bit towards the colder side. But anyway, it's going for a colder than average winter. Not too bad at all to start us off. The precipitation anomaly shows drier to the north and wetter to the south. That's quite interesting. So it probably is indicative perhaps of high pressure up here and low pressure down here, which may bring us easterly winds. Jamstech in the cold winter camp then. I just wrote this in. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly from the ECMWF for November to January. This is the latest update. Remember, this is just my interpretation. I can't show you, unfortunately. Can't show you the ECMWF seasonal model directly. I've seen the charts for the winter, but they're private charts, so I can't add them to the video. But what the model is seeing for the early part of winter is that there's quite a bit of ridging to the north and to the west of the UK, presumably troughs through here. And could be quite a cold start to winter if this is right, with northerly winds. The temperature signal or temperature anomaly was quite weak, but I think the early winter, in terms of the pressure distribution, hints anyway at being quite a cold start to winter. Then we go through towards the actual winter itself. This is December to February, when it appears that the ridging and the blocking collapses down into Europe. So that's just very quiet, dry conditions really through the winter itself, but jet stream probably coming over the top, something like that. The ECM is very interesting what it's trying to do, and we'll wait and see what the next update shows in October. I'll watch this space on that one. And then finally, we're at the end now of this marathon season model roundup. So this is our very own GLOSY 5 model from the UK Met Office. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for the winter. This really created some buzz on the forums and on social media when it came out earlier in the month. It's going for blocking to the north around Greenland and Iceland. We've got ridging up here. A trough is centred through Central Europe, which presumably brings the winds in from the north and the northeast. UK Met Office definitely in the cold camp this month. So temperature anomalies, they're not actually as exciting as you might have expected from that sea level pressure anomaly. They do hint at being on the cold and average side for the UK. Otherwise, they're not desperately cold. But I would have thought if the, again, it's similar to CFSD2 really, if the pressure anomaly did come out like that for the winter, I think pretty much most of northern, central and western Europe will come out colder than average. And then the precipitation, I believe that comes out wetter than average, above average rainfall really for most parts of Europe. Notice it's drier than average out to the northwest, also dry and average up towards Norway, so hints at high pressure through there, low pressure through here, and obviously that brings in northerly and easterly influences. The UK Met Office model is in the cold camp this month. We shall see where they go next month. So, well, that's how I was looking for the first season model roundup. Mixed bag, of course, as always, because we're at the first update, it's a long way off, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. But I think overall these models are quite interesting. They are on a similar scenario, certainly in terms of the pressure distribution anyway. A lot of them are hinting, no more than that, but hinting at some quite interesting conditions to come, with a fair amount of high pressure to the north and west at times, hints of below average heights and low pressure to the south and east, and the squeeze between the two does probably, on most of these models, create at least the possibility of a chance that we might get some cold northerly and easterly winds. So for a first update, I think it's quite interesting where the models are going. A second update will be much more important, of course, because it'll be closer to the time frame, and we'll also have those other models to include as well. Right, I've been talking for 25 minutes, a bit shorter than some of the winter updates we've been doing lately, so I hope you enjoyed the seasonal model roundup. Remember, this will be placed on the winter updates page later today with a written summary of everything that we've discussed. So come back to that later on if you would like to read the written report that goes with this video. And also on the blog later this afternoon, you'll be able to see how the GASWeather, the solar tracker, has gone over the past week. And you'll also be able to see what's happening across Siberia in terms of snow cover, whether things have started moving yet. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.